Yeah, my name's Jimmy Nzally. I am a Gambian. I'm doing my PhD in my final year. And my PhD looks at democratic change in the Gambia, looking at how the people were able to vote out the autocratic rule that has been there for 22 years. I am a writer of poems. I write poetry. I do also write short stories. In addition to that, I recently made some big media appearances on the BBC and also Voice of America. I am an activist back home in the Gambia. I founded an organization called Global Hands. I also founded the University of the Gambia Leadership Fellowship. The aim is to, of course, train, impact, and dispatch young leaders. So I'm into a variety of things, as you can, imagine, with different work experiences in non-profit organization, with United Nations. And the aim for me was that when I arrived here in Brussels in 2016, I realized that African students needed a voice. I realized that there was also need for visibility. I realized that there was also need for really to influence policy. And to do that, there was need to organize ourselves so that we can contribute to campus life and diversity at the VUB. There were three incidents that prompted me to set up this African Students Community. Number one is that there was this racism incident that happened with an African student from Uganda. She was racially abused. She didn't know how to tackle this, and she engaged with relevant authorities. But again, it was always difficult to relate. So there was the problem of relatability. So I engaged with her, and I thought it wise that it's important that not only her voice is heard, but that a repeat of this will not happen again. So to do that, there was need to organize ourselves. Another reason that also prompted me, of course, was the fact that I realized that, for meaningful change to happen, there has to be organization. So that there was need that we provide support for each other as African students and more broadly international students. So there was that need to come together to get outside of our comfort zone, but also to be more visible. I think the third point has to do with my leadership at the VUB. Because when I arrived on campus, I did not waste any time. I started, as I said, I was an activist back home in the Gambia. I thought that, the right thing to do is to unleash my potential and to continue to be the student leadership and activist I am. Yeah, that's a very important question, because when I had this idea to set up the African Students Community, I contacted a few African students, of course, but they were always raising skepticism, as you can imagine. Oh man, we're busy, we have a lot of workload to do, man, do you think this will make all this kind of thing? I said, okay, all right. So what did I do? I used the internationalization approach. I used both local, hybrid, which is other nationalities, to come together. So I was supported by colleagues from Albania, colleagues from Belgium, colleagues from Suriname. Can you imagine? They helped me to set up this African Student Community. And then I deliberately made it not of an African student community, but I call it Africa Student Community, so that even if you're an African, you might want to join, you might also want not to join, but even if you just have affiliation, you can also join. So this again brings to this internationalization dimension to broaden it. And it's the same approach we also use in the Latin America students community as well. So yeah, the membership started to grow with both local and international students, but also the hybrid from other nationalities. So yeah, we had really a good number. And then I set up the executive, and then I became an advisor. And until now, they are up and running and having huge impact, organizing events, influencing policy, and etc. So I'm still involved behind the scene. As leaders don't come on front always, they also have to lead from behind. So that there will be, and it will be an everlasting but also enduring idea, and it goes beyond me, because I believe that this is an idea. And always ideas and sustainable ideas should be bigger than an individual. So this is why I'm taking the back seat but also, providing support behind the scene. Yeah, there are different ways, really, to be very honest with you. Number one is that the creation of ASCOM created a ripple effect, as I mentioned earlier. The Latin American students also found the need through discussion, and then, I sparked that fire, and it led to the formation of Latin America Student Community. But also, you can also see that there's more visibility. Today, when there's students or African student issues, the first name that comes to mind is ASCOM. So they have become a problem solver, but also taking lead in influencing policy. They also have this African Liberation Day, which gives them the opportunity to organize events and to influence policy, but also to even invite key stakeholders. So you can see that. There's also another dimension of ASCOM, which is that there's also this networking amongst themselves, helping each other, creating surveys, understanding the issues, the strengths, the weaknesses, and how they can engage. And I think really that has been a transformative journey. And when I look at ASCOM and what they're doing, and you can see there's really growing interest. And even African students or African descendants from Belgium, they're even taking the lead, and all of this. So it creates a blended interest, and this is why ASCOM is really a great organization, and I'm really proud of the work we did and what is happening on the ground. The change in Gambia would not have been possible without the diaspora. We can talk about mobilization, how they've helped to mobilize resources, but also mobilize amongst themselves. So they really contributed a lot. Financially, they were the backbone of the coalition that came together to end dictatorship and to vote Jammeh, former president, out. Financially, again, they also were really and still a huge contributor of our country's GDP. And despite them being away from their country, they still have strong influence within their families. So they were able to call their families back home to influence them to change and to vote Jammeh out. So they're really an important part of our society. And if you like, you can call them the middle class, but also if you like, you can call them the untapped resource or the human resource base of our country. Because we are a country which does not have natural resources, let's say gold, diamond, but the diaspora, they contribute a lot, in that regard, in this research. It shows the diaspora mobilization tool. It shows the involvement and the important attachment they still have for their countries. But also, it's also involved the changing dynamics, because if things are hard in your country, as a diasporan, you cannot contribute. It's difficult to go back. So many of them were in exile. Some of them are dissidents. So many of them were really not comfortable with just going back. So they had to fight. And for many decades, they couldn't go back. So fighting that human rights violations and the killing of people that they know and so many other people, and for leading the fight for 22 years wasn't an easy task. So the diaspora really are the backbone. They created the agenda, they created the drive, and they were the push factor. And you can also say the same thing, in other African countries. You realize that Africans and African diasporans are really so close to their community, to their countries, because, in Africa, we are so much family-oriented and community-oriented. And so many people and so many lives and so many mouths, they rest or rely on us for feeding, for information, for orientation, for guidance, for a lot of things. And so many other countries, they know the power of mobilization and the power of diaspora, financial, economical, in every aspect. The diaspora should never be forgotten in terms of development, in terms of engagement, and in terms of unlocking the potential of the countries that they come from. And the Gambia is really a unique case study to look in this regard.